Hello and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today's guest is a promoter, a producer, a musician. He hosts open mics. He does pretty much everything you can do in music. He's immensely talented, and I'm going to introduce him the way he introduces everyone. The wonderful, the amazing Michael Webster.
How you doing, man? You're right.
I'm good, man. I've just picked up on like whenever you introduce people, there's always like a like, I don't know,
Yeah,
it's
I
like a little
know.
thing you
I
do.
don't know where it comes from. I think it's just like a natural, like, oh yeah, let's go, But I don't know.
It's no, it's sweet. It's not like a bad thing. It's and, you know what I recognize it from is like you always feel like you need to kind of give it like that little oomph sometimes,
Yeah,
and everyone's got their own little thing. Like for instance, the way I introduced the podcast, like I used to do it slightly differently, and then I kind of settled on something, and then that's what it became. And that
yeah.
you didn't give it much thought. You just kind of like, yeah, this. Yeah,
I think that's the case for everyone, though, isn't it? You kind of get used to the way you do it, and you settle into certain things, and then it just kind of goes from there. Do you know what I mean? You know.
absolutely. How did you get into hosting open mics? Like, what did that start? Because I feel like it's as a musician, it's an interesting one to get into that field. Like my journey was kind of like I started just showing up, like
Yeah.
getting back into music after years of being away from it. Start showing up, start befriending the people that like hosting and stuff, and
Mm.
then eventually, yeah, I'm hosting here and there, I'm covering here and there, and then I formed my partnership with Kaisha recently
Yeah.
because like an opportunity came up. But it's a weird one because I guess like you can like approach and be like, "Hey, here's my idea." If you're looking for an open
Well,
mic, I've got this idea. Like, how did
I,
you start that?
I started kind of covering like my bandmate whenever he was like in work or I had to do other things or whatever. And it just kind of went from there. Like, and I got like offered one at a new place. This was, before the pandemic, the ancient times. But I kind of started doing that just there and then it kind of started building, and then the lockdown happened. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? So like, I got
gosh.
offered one, and then the lockdown happened, and then as we went through the stages of reopening and stuff, I was able to start doing things, and then more places wanted them because they wanted to do things because you couldn't do anything for so long, you know. And then it's just kind of progressively. I've gone to like I've talked to certain venues, been like, oh, this I really want to do something here. It sounds really cool. It would work really well. This, that, and the other. And then sometimes venues will approach me.
Mm.
It's a good balance. Do you know what I mean? It's not just like, you know, me being hounded or me hounding people,
Well, no, I mean it's like I think people recognize the good work you do. A lot of the time, whenever I'm promoting the nights I do, I also like throw your name in the hat and be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, by the way, go check out Michael. He does da 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 da. Da."
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have different options, different vibes.
Yes.
I like seeing certain people that show up at yours, show up at ours, and vice
Yeah.
versa. I'm like, oh, cool, because you get
I,
like a little bit of a different vibe, you know?
I know people who will go to one and then the next week they'll go to a different one because they just want a change of atmosphere, a change of pace. You know, every pub it has its own atmosphere and its own kind of what's going on with it. Do you know what I mean? Like for example, like the Flower and Flagon is so much more studenty, a bit more like you know big atmosphere, lots going on than compared to the Grafton where it's really chill. You know,
Which is your favorite one to do?
I can't say I can't answer that. It's like
Kind
asking
of
a parent
favorites.
what's your favorite kid, isn't it? You know, no, like I like them all because they all have different like atmospheres. So none of them feel like I'm doing the same job over and over and over. Like I am doing the same job, but it's like I'm doing new things each day. Do you know what I mean? A different kind of atmosphere, like the music choices in between, the kind of how busy it is, how much I have to be like, whoa, they all have completely different kind of feelings to them, which is nice because it's not just, you're not coming to one and then going to another and going, oh, well, it's the same kind of thing.
I know how this will sound, but just bear with me. Like, do you still kind of get like excited about it when you do it, or is it like work and then there's high points and low points?
No, I do get excited about it because I've done ones in the past and it got to the point where I was like not looking forward to it. And then I knew that was time to stop doing that. Do you know what I mean? You know, various factors come into that, but like if you don't enjoy doing it, then what's the point of doing it? Do you know what I mean?
What were the reasons in with the previous places where it didn't quite work out?
Just mostly kind of like the changes of like management or just kind of like changes of the direction of what they wanted, or didn't really fit with more of a musical sense.
Well, what kind of thing? Because this will branch into another question, but like, what kind of things were they looking for? That where there was like maybe like a crossover where it didn't quite work out, because
some places just wanted to be much more like sports focused. Do you know what I mean? Or like,
yeah,
they'll just like the only musical thing they would have would be the open mic. So there was no kind of nothing else going on musically. You know what I mean? Which it happens. You got to explore all options when it comes to running a business, but sometimes it's just not the right thing. It's not the right fit, and some places start out really good and then just naturally take on like a trajectory of this isn't going to work out. We're going in a different direction, and it happens. It's the way, you've got, is it a case of let's keep the open mic going, or let's say, let's keep the open mic running, but we're going to make no money? Or do we go and show the Champions League final and make thousands of pounds in a night that could save our business? Do you know what I mean? There is levels to it, isn't there?
When I look at some of these sports bars, and I'll put that question that I had on the back burner for a second. I'm scratching my head a lot of the time when I see certain venues going like, "Oh, we want some music," and it's like it makes sense because like footy fans are definitely music fans a lot of the time, but they have a very specific thing they want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so you want a gig? You don't want open mic. You want a gig.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want a guy to come in, or a girl, whoever, and just play the hits.
I think a lot of places don't really know what they want. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to it, like, if you turn around to me and you were in a sports bar and you were like, oh, we've just shown the City West Ham game. It's going to be really busy. We need someone to come in and play some tunes afterwards. I would turn around and go, I'm not running an open mic. Here's someone who could play all these songs that you would want and will work, and then because otherwise it's just not an enjoyable experience for anyone, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to name drop. You don't have to say anything. I'm just going to say, with this new bar, this O'Connell's that just opened up.
Yeah.
I've not gone in, but I've seen it from the outside. I've seen what they're doing, and that to me is an example of a bit of a head scratcher, because it's quite clearly like sports focused, but it's marketed as an Irish bar. But then they've got some live music, and I can hear it, and it sounds good. They've got good people, but it's an afterthought, and sometimes that'll happen. It makes sense if it's a hotel lobby and you've got a guy playing some jazzy tunes, or setting some ambiance, and there's not going to be a crowd. But with something like that, with the space, I'd be like, just put a jukebox on and just, do you know what I mean? Like, you got more seating then. Like,
I think the problem that you've got nowadays in Manchester is it's trying to be a lot more like corporate than it used to be. It's going down the London route a little bit in places.
I hate that.
Where in London, do you know what I mean? You'll play a gig and then they'll just not talk to you again for another 6 months because there's a million other people who want to play gigs, But Manchester, there are elements of it happening because obviously the money's coming in. They have to kind of think on a bigger picture. But there is also a level of, there's a community in Manchester, the city centre. People come in to the city centre to hang out and, meet up with people from different areas. But then when you look at places like Lost Side and Wally Range and Hume and stuff. There are people who are like integral. They have been there for years and years, and they just go to the pub to hang out with the mates, you know, regardless of who they are. Do you know what I mean? They'll just be like, oh, these are people from my where I'm from. You know, these are all my friends.
I got to say, I do feel bad for Mancunians because I'm seeing what the gentrification is doing to the city. And
Yeah.
yeah, I've been here 5 years. I love the city, but I am seeing this like big divide now where Mancunians are being driven out. It's all people that aren't from Manchester that are moving into the city because it's so overly priced, you know, so
Yeah.
that's going to naturally happen. But when you look at the culture of this city now, music is always going to be huge in the city,
Yeah.
and there's so much good music coming out of Manchester.
I think you'll never stop the musical aspect
Mm-mm.
of Manchester. Do you know what I mean? And if you did, it just wouldn't be in like the city centre. It would just be moved somewhere where people can afford to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
there are places
mean,
where in Manchester that are just, you know, £7 a pint, and you just think, who's doing that? Do you know what I mean? Who's going out and spending that money?
well, it's crazy as well. Like this is something me and my boys talk about a lot, where places in the city centre
Hmm.
will be still cheap, like £3 a
Yeah.
pint, and it'd be decent alcohol in a place where you'd expect it to be expensive, and then
Yeah.
right next door, as you said, it's £7 or £8, and I'm like, this is insane.
I don't really have an answer to this. I
No, I
just
know,
don't
I
know
know.
why. I don't know why it's happening. It's just, I think it's just the idea of, you know, they can do it and they can get away with it to a degree.
I just think that I mean, this is basic just business, right? The prices you set for anything will determine people's perception of it, but
Yeah,
also the clientele, what you're drawing in and out, etc.
yeah,
And you add music into the mix, that's obviously a reason to pull people in, you know. So, for example, you doing an open mic on a Tuesday at Grafton is like, oh, cool, that's a reason to come in.
yeah,
There's sports going on, people know that, but there's a reason to always come in, and you'll always get something a little bit different. And you know, cheap pints, decent
yeah.
music, great, you know. But when, like, if they would, like, next week just be like, oh, you know what, we need to make more money, and you know, it's just not good enough, so they're charging £8, it would, people would just leave and go
Yeah,
elsewhere.
they would leave. I think some places when it comes to that kind of thing, it like slowly goes up. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they've gone, oh, it's £3 a pint. Oh, by the way, now it's eight.
No.
Because you can't do that. Do you know what I mean? If you had a favorite buddy from the corner shop and they turn around to you and he was like, oh, it's £8 now rather than £3, you'd go, oh, I'm all right. I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, you just have something else. You know, they can't. It's not. That's not the way that the economy works. Sadly, well, sadly, gladly, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's that question I put on the back burner. Why do you think there's like this huge influx of open mics opening? Now, what I'll add with context to this is that, okay, obviously there's a demand for it,
Yeah,
but it's almost like the oversaturation now. Like there's a group on Facebook. I don't know how it is in other cities, but for Manchester, it's like so many in the city, and I'm like, okay, great. There's lots of different options, but when I see what they're producing, and then
yeah,
I see like your setup or mine and Keisha's setup, or you know other people we know's setups, I'm like, cool. You've got something that's been going a while. It's dedicated. It's professional, and then you got others where you walk in and it's just not. And it's like
yeah.
I don't think you realize maybe what goes into it. It's not just plug in the mic and play. It's like there's a bit
No,
more to it if you want to actually make it into an event.
I think some places there's like, I've seen a lot of open mics over the past like what 5 years. There's been a lot of people who wanted to do them, a lot of people who tried them, and then kind of went, oh, it's a bit more hard work than I thought. I've seen some that have been really busy and then dropped away at because of like venues and stuff. I think there's some that have set up with the idea of being like, oh, open mic, you know, anyone can get up, but then it's a bit more karaoke themed, a bit more like, oh, you can sing to a backing track and have a laugh.
Mm.
And it kind of blended it blurred this idea of what a karaoke and a open mic were a little bit, you know. But I think a lot of venues go, oh, that looks like it's working there. So then they go, oh, it'll work at ours. And then sadly it doesn't, it doesn't work out the way. Because, you can play some songs at the start and be a really good host, but if you don't know how to do the sound, then
Pointless.
someone turns up with a resonator guitar or a lap steel or something, and then goes, oh, I need to be mic'd up, and you haven't got any mic stands, or someone's like, oh, I've got an RCA cable from my interface, have you got an RCA input or a phono input? And then it starts getting like actually sound engineer territory. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We have some bands at some of my mics, and it's hard work. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
bro,
like,
I know.
you actually got to do the sound, like really do the sound, and there's a lot of skills that you need. Like I know a few people who run open mics with other people like you and Keisha do, and you're both using the skills that you know together, which is really helpful. Like I've done sound for years and I've hosted open mics for years, so luckily I've done it for so long that I can, I've done sound work and hosted for so long that it's kind of second nature to me now. But I think a lot of places just kind of it's easy to see something be successful but not see how much work goes into it.
Exactly.
I think that's what it is. Like you can have any open mic could be successful if you put the hard work into it. And sometimes events in general are bloody hard work. Trying to get people down, trying to sort out sound engineers, bands. Yeah.
This is what I mean. Like I'm right there. I'm so glad I spoke to you about this because
Yeah.
there's a lot that grinds my gears about it, and I think people don't realize, just how much goes into it. And
Yeah.
okay, what makes a good open mic? I would argue that it's about making connections with people, really discussing, talking to people, making them feel comfortable on that stage. Yeah. I mean, like me and Clay have been criticized before for, like, say, putting people on the stage who maybe their skill level isn't there. And it's like, think about what this is. This isn't a gig. This is, this is an opportunity.
Mic is open. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it is. Yeah, and you see people get better over time. You see people get more confident. Sometimes you give them advice and they take it and they run with it, and it's like, oh, great. Like,
there's a lot of acts that I've seen who started out and were, you could see that they wanted to do it, but they needed time to like hone the craft, or just little bits of like tightening on the performance, or, we're getting over a bit of stage fright. But then 6 months down the line, like incredible performers. And all it takes is that they just need that to keep going with it. They need that kind of first performance and a couple of practices live in a live setting. I think everyone does, I
think adding to that as well, like a big thing that I like about yours and mine is that it's people feel confident to keep coming back, and people understand that they're appreciated, and that's why they stick around. I've seen a lot where you just show up and then you leave, and also the host fails in that they don't make it a space where you'd want to stick around. It's like, okay, you're done now, next act. It's
the way I always try and make it is the one thing that I always try and ensure when I'm running any event, be it a gig or open mic or whatever. I want it to be a chilled atmosphere, somewhere where you can, hang out with your mates, have a beer, have a little chat with your mates. But then when someone's performing, give them respect and give them, the respect they deserve for performing. Make sure that people are, if people are like sat across from each other on different tables, try and be like, oh, this, you know what I mean? Like introduce people to each other. Because so many people are shy. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to, especially musicians. They make music to express their feelings. Most of them are very shy people. So all it takes is just a little bit of, oh, this person is performing as well. And then they make friendships and, potential band be in bands together or collaborate.
To me, it's a little bit like this show that I do where, you know, I sit down, I spend time looking at my guest and researching them, and then, you know, you've got something to talk about, so you've got things to
Yeah,
ask them, right? Same is true when people get on the stage. It's like, oh, by the way, this person's got an album. Oh, by the
yeah,
way, they're in the studio right now. You know, little things like that, I
yeah,
think, go a long way.
yeah. It's just about like a lot of the acts that I have performing at the open mics are like they come back over and over, so you get to know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Which is nice, but then there's never a case of like we used to have it a bit where it would be a little bit clicky, like not clicky, but it would be a bit like there was a group of regulars, and then there'd
Mm.
be other people who come in, and if you were a bit shy or a bit nervous, it might take you a while to kind of get chatting to them. But nowadays, everyone's actually really, really good in just being like talking to each other and welcoming people into the space and being like, oh, asking people about stuff, which is very, very good to see because that is a main issue for a lot of people, I think, when it comes to an open mics, is if it's too clicky or if it's like, a load of mates chatting and having a laugh with each other and you're just there like, you know.
I think it's bullshit, and that's something I think Kaisha's always done really well. I think you do it really well, is to create that space where people feel actually comfortable to do
Yeah.
that. Because I mean, like I've seen sometimes people will come up to us at the desk at GC. I could tell they're like really nervous just to talk. Like they'll get on stage and they'll be brilliant, but they're just they don't know. And then you're like, hey, how's it going? You're all right.
Yeah.
You know. Like, yeah, I might be busy doing sound, but I've got time to talk to you and
Yeah.
say hi and, see what you're about. And I don't know, like the amount of times people have walked away and they've got like a big smile on their face and they're really
Yeah.
happy and they're like, oh, great. And come back. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like
Yeah.
they're great. That's brilliant.
That's it. That's what it's all about. And,
Absolutely.
just having it's just about having a good laugh. That's all I ever think about with it. Do you know what I mean? If you're not going out with the open mic, if you're going to an open mic, you don't have a laugh, then, if you can't sit down, have a pint and have a laugh with someone, then what's the point of
Absolutely.
going out?
Right. So we talked about happy stuff. Now I'm going to like talk about stuff that grinds your gears because I think it's fun. You mentioned karaoke, which to me is like a when I hear that. Like, don't get me wrong, I love karaoke as a
Yeah.
concept, but I don't want to fucking hear it at an open mic.
No.
And I've spoken to Kosher about it before, and we agree like karaoke in general. No, there's been a few times we gave someone a shot and then regretted it afterwards.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So this is how I feel. You tell me how you feel afterwards, right? This is my
Yeah.
kind of
All
ethos.
right.
If it's someone who is clearly like a good singer and that maybe they're thinking about writing music in the future, or they're just thinking about singing regularly and they've got some songs that they can sing and they just need a backing track. I'm willing,
Yeah.
but it's I know how this is sound. To me, it's all about the presentation, right? So if you come up and you're like, I'm a singer, I want to sing, I want to do this, I've got some songs lined up, great. When it's, hey mate, can I sing? Can I sing fucking Oasis? Yeah, I want to go. I want to sing this. I want to sing. No, you can't.
There is a level to it. You have to read. You have to read what it is. If it's just someone who's pissed off being like, "Oh, I want to sing this." The benefit I always have, and this sounds really gloaty when I say it, but is that if you come up to me at 8 o'clock on an open mic, or 7:30, let's say, you won't be able to play till like 11. And if you're just out with your mates having a drink, you're not going to wait that long, just to sing one song for your mates. Sometimes if it's a bit quiet, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. Sometimes it's a bit of a laugh. But when it's like someone turns up and they're like, oh, I've got my songs on my phone, I want to connect it to the desk, I've got the cable, I need it, I can airdrop it to you or email it to you. Then there's a level of professionality in it that shows that they actually are, it's not just I'm out and I want to sing a song. But at the same time, sometimes It adds to the fun of the night. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if
no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I have had people who have like been like, oh, I want to sing a song, and I've been like, oh, all right, I'll get you on as this guy. We don't really have many acts left, and they've been unreal. Like I've been like, oh, but heck, you actually, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just I sing, but just don't really take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh well, you probably should do. It's about
Yeah.
it's about a balance, isn't it? You
Well, so
know,
I learned I bring this up because like it's happened a few times when we've done GC open mics
yeah,
and elsewhere, and I'm like, like yourself, you gauge it,
yeah,
you see. But I learned this the hard way one time when I was hosting at Shakespeare, and like it was good in the sense that like we got like a leave-in do. Some people, a bunch of people came
yeah,
in, and great, you got an audience, but it is still an open mic.
yeah,
And once we opened it up to, yeah, you can sing these songs, now it's just fucking karaoke for an hour.
yeah.
And
That's
it, oh,
I always try and like go like, okay, we can do one, and then and then maybe your mates can do one as well. But then I'll be like, when it gets to that point, there's no one left to perform. Like none of the musicians who have come are left to perform. So the bar will be shutting. So then it's a case of that. Do you know what I mean? It's always late when it comes to that kind of thing.
well, the thing I learned as well in that instance was that you have a difficulty of retaining control of the situation.
Yeah,
So I remember we were trying to pull it back and just get back and play some stuff ourselves. And, just in case some musicians might come in, because sometimes
yeah,
people just drop in
yeah,
last minute. To understand like no, it's not karaoke, it's an open mic. And I remember that the people that were there were getting kind of a bit snippy with us, a bit aggressive about that. And I was like, hey, we've let you sing like loads of stuff, it's not karaoke, it's an open mic,
yeah.
you know. And that I think is really important as an open mic host, or host of anything really, is to retain control and be like, no, 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 this is what we do.
It comes back to like work. Like I worked in a bar for 3.5 years, managing and being like main DPS on a shift. You've got to maintain that control at all times, or else it would just people would just take the mickey out of you. You know what I mean? As long as you have that knowledge to be like, all right, you've got to be stern with people, especially when they've had a drink. People have to be stern with me when I've had a drink. Do you know what I mean? So it goes both ways, but at the same time, you have to kind of maintain that level of, okay, nice one, but that's it.
All right, what are the benefits and the drawbacks of hosting open mic nights?
The benefits are, I would say, you get to meet loads of people, you get to play tunes all the time, you get to hear loads of new music, meet people that, random people you would probably never have met if it wasn't, for music. Drawbacks are probably stress, the hassle of it sometimes. Those days when you have like your entire list drop out of nowhere, and then you're like scrambling to get people down.
Did you ever just like perform for like an hour, just you?
I mean, I could, but I feel egotistical when I do it.
Yeah, but if no one showed up, like surely that's
No,
the only option, right?
no, I know. Yeah, I've done it before. I have done it before. I just
Yeah.
feel that me and this lad Tom used to, if it got busy, like quiet at the end, we just have a jam and play like loads of covers at the end, and that was always good. But I don't. No one else does it. No one else wants to do it. I don't know. Like maybe they do. Maybe I'm not asking the right people. But
I know what you mean. Because sometimes me and Kaisha we perform. There's a song we perform together. She'll hop on. She's kind of made it a thing where it's kind of like I don't know what the word would be. I mean, truly open. Like you can kind of move on and not. Like if there's people that want to collaborate,
yeah,
so it's open in that sense. But I think the problem with it is it sometimes gives that message of anyone can just hop on and whatever, and it's like, well, yeah. but it's still this music thing that we're doing,
If
right?
you wanted, yeah, I think with that kind of thing where it's like more of an open, collaborative jam kind of thing, it's if someone says that to me, like, oh, would this guy want me to play drums or would he want me to play Matt Cahan with him? I'm always like, wait till they finish this song and then ask. Just ask, what's the harm in asking? And if they say no, then they say no. Like, maybe they just want to play their own songs on their own, you know. Maybe they want to have a little jam, at the Grafton, because we got the kit, we got the drum kit and everything. It's a lot easier at the end if we are quiet. We can just all have a jam and just play some 12-bar blues and you know, and all the old guys love it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we were saying before, isn't it? You gauge it a little bit. I do think that it's a good way if the hosts play. I think the hosts should always play.
I always open to
Yeah,
the mood of what we are doing. And it's only, and well, not just set the mood, but I've turned around to like so many people in the past and been like, oh, do you want to go on first? And they go, oh, first, you mean like now? And I'm like, yeah, and they're like, and I'm like, okay, that's why I go on first. And then no one has to open it because people get very nervous about opening things, the show.
people get snippy about timings. Let's talk about that for a second because I wanted to kind of talk about pet peeves a little bit.
People do get sniffy about timings.
Why?
Some people just want to go on at a certain time, but there is one rule I have, and it's you will more than likely be on in the order of when people get there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just the be all. If you have to get a train, if you've got work the next day, if you can't make it till a certain time, but you need to be gone by a certain time, then just talk to me and we'll figure it out. And it's easy. The worst one is when you go, oh, you guys decide when you want to go on.
Oh,
And they all go, it's just easier to just do it that way. That's the best way you will ever do it. I've tried a few different things. I've tried one where I was like, pick a time when you want to go on. And then people started being like, I want to go on late. And then we'd start up at like 8:30 because no one wanted to go on early. But then everyone would turn up at like 9:00. And then we were really struggling to get people on like on time for the end of it. Just in the order of when it's on. And tell people it starts an hour before it actually does.
This is something I've learned as well. You got to be very firm with people. Kaisha does it really, really well. I'm a bit. I don't know. Sometimes I'm firm. Like I remember there was a guy recently. Fucking hell. He came on and he did. He did like a Limp Bizkit cover. And he said he was a guitarist, but he wanted to try vocals, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
His energy was a bit all like he was one of these people who was just up in my face at the desk every 5 minutes, and it's really. I'll just say this for anyone: if you go to an open mic, please do not get up in the face of the open. If I'm doing sound, right?
I think in the face of any sound engineer is a bad thing.
It's just like I'm doing a job here. It's not a fucking bar. It's not. Well, do you know what I mean? You're doing a job. And
the other thing you got to think about, Christian, is that if you get up in the face of the sound engineer, that sound engineer dictates how you sound out there.
Oh yeah,
Well, they don't like you. They might think you sound.
This is the thing. He came in with that energy, and him and his friends were kind of annoying me a little bit, but I still put them on.
Yeah,
professional. He absolutely butchers this song, and I'm like, well, look, he's trying. It is what it is, right? But I remember me and Kaish looking at each other, and it's like, okay, move on. And then began that every 5 minutes, like oh, can I get on and do this? Can I get on and do this? And I'm like, oh, just wait, we're doing X, Y, Z. He kept asking incessantly, who's on next, who's on last. That particular night, I was headlining it to do my album and stuff. And I said that I was like, I'm headlining it, I'm closing it, and I said it like at least 3 times. And at this point, I've just had enough of him being up in my face, and and it's a busy night. There's too many people. You know, like how it is when there's just a million people around the desk, and you're just
Yeah.
like, all right, can we get some space, please? And that's really what I'm driving at with this is the
Yeah.
space, personal space. But he came up after doing all that and having done a bad performance, and he's like, "Oh, can I do fucking Rollin' or Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Absolutely not, no." I just straight out. I didn't even ask Cage. I was just like, "No."
So it's a
It just
it's a level, isn't it? Like there are people who are just so full on with it and like constantly like, I've had it where people are like, oh, can I go up again? And I'm like, probably not. Like, you've already played. Everyone else needs to play as well. Do you know what I mean? It's a level of a balance between everyone, isn't it? I can't just let someone play. Someone will turn around up to me and be like, oh, can I play 4 songs? And I'm like, if I give one person 4 songs, then everyone wants 4 songs.
yep.
Even if your 4 songs are like 10 minutes in total, another person's 4 songs could be 25. Do you know what I mean? And then if it goes over on a 25 minute, if someone does a 25-minute set, I'm running late, you know,
I've
then
seen it happen.
I probably have to turn around to people and be like, can you do 2 songs? Because this person's asked for more. Do you know what I mean? Like,
The
it's
one
all
and
about a balance. You get 3 songs and that's it. That's the rule, 3 songs or 15 minutes.
so I'm going to name drop. I'm sorry. So pre you, Peaky Blinders, the only time I ever played pre. To be clear,
Yeah.
this is pre Michael. Okay, so they do an open mic at Peaky Blinders in Manchester. Setup is nice, it's cool, but before Michael, I mean, it was professional in so much as like, they were trying to present it a certain way, and it's like, yeah, they've got a good setup here. There's good sound. It's cool. But they told us right off the bat, they're like, it's late. It's going to be late. I'm like, yeah, fine. They said 10, 15 minutes. No problem. Now, herein lies the problem, right? Where I don't think that they were ready at that point. And obviously later on, they got you. And I was like, that's a solid idea. You've got someone with experience there who knows how to run it and how to be firm with things and how to adjust things and so on. At that point, they didn't have that experience, which is fine. However, there's certain things that you've got to just nip in the bud straight away. So, for example, this guy comes on, everyone's running late, we're all waiting to play, it's getting longer and longer and longer, and this guy comes on. I've told this story on the show before, but I just have to tell you. I think I might have told you in person, but I'll tell it anyway. He plays 2 originals. They're fairly longish, 5 minutes each. Which it's 3 songs for 15 minutes. That's pretty standard. I can see he's got some like family in the audience and stuff. He's doing this regularly. He's younger. He's younger, so you let certain things go. But he plays. There's this Ed Sheeran song that's like really long. I think it's on the first album.
Oh,
Yeah, but like he plays that, but like an extended version, and I shit you not, he's playing for 20 minutes.
yeah.
And it was like we were all just joking and looking at our watches, like, "Come on, mate, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
And like, by the time the hosts eventually come round to us, I'm incensed. I'm so annoyed. We're all annoyed. If I was supposed to be on at like 9:45 or whatever it was, I think I didn't get on stage till like 11:15 or something. It was, and they gave us a free drink, and they were cool about it. But I just remember thinking, like, yeah, I'm not coming back here.
It's one of those like sometimes I've muted someone before. I
Wow.
took him down because I said to him, you can do 2 songs, and he played 3. I was like, we've literally got 5 minutes till the call like close. And I was like, do 2 quick songs and then that's it. They rang the bell during his second song because we were closed. And he went to play a third one. I was like, mate, you're not playing a third one. He's like, I can do whatever I want. And I was like, no, you can't. I turned him down. and then he, fell over, and I was like, this and that and the other. He was ruined. But there's a level to it of turning someone down is you don't know how they'll react to it. They could be like, "Well, you are you," and if there's, if the bigger bloke or whatever, tall, looks strong, I'm not fighting a grown ass person, regardless of who they are. But there is also a level of like, if you're running late, just be like, by the way, we're running late,
Yeah. I mean,
and then most people will be sound with it.
it's the adjusting thing. I mean, like you said, like you're pretty strict on the whole 3 songs, 15 minutes thing.
Yeah.
We're strict as well. But if it's a quieter night, you give more people.
Oh yeah. Of course.
But like as you said, the rule is established. So if you first two acts got 4 songs, then everyone's going to kind of expect that, and it's like you need to deliver on that. But yeah, luckily we've not had to mute anyone yet. But
I've had to do it once. What? Yeah, once.
But it's like we've had plenty of situations where people are trying to get on the fucking stage, and it's like, get off the stage.
Yeah.
There was something we had recently. It was a bit of a learning curve for us, and I remember turning to coach and I was like, right, new rule. Unless they're invited on the stage by you or me, they're not getting on the fucking stage. Because what happened was there was someone who was invited, and they were singing, and that was fine. And then they brought this guy who was like bad energy. Sometimes like someone just walks in, and like I had one last night where he was just shouting and just being kind of annoying and being up in people's face. And he's like, "Oh, play fucking Razorlight, play the Arctic Monkeys," and I'm like, "Bro, no."
Razorlight. What a request! I don't think anyone's ever said, "Give us some Razorlight." Not to take.
Oh, why are you hating the Razorlight, man? I fucking love it.
They're a great band, but just
it's a deep cut.
I don't want Wonderwall. I want Razorlight.
To be fair, like I was thinking, like if I'd have known it, I would have played it because I fucking love Oasis. But like when people say, "Oh, play Oasis," I'm like, "Yeah, go fuck yourself." Yeah. Like that's kind of the thing, isn't it? The only reason I say that is nothing against Oasis. I like Oasis, but kind of like a running joke, I suppose, at open mics is.
Yeah.
Oh, play some Oasis, play Wonderwall, play fucking Freebird or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
the one thing that I always tell people when it comes to like stage is don't leave a microphone on.
Yeah.
So for just general sound, good practice. Just don't leave a microphone on. But B, it means that someone can't run on the stage and just start chatting, because you give someone a platform, like a elevated voice sometimes, and they'll just say whatever the fuck they want, and that can go that can go very many bad ways if they decide to spew some random garbage that they want to say.
This reminded me of something, actually. 2 things. One, there was a guy who got on stage. I think it was that aggressive guy I told you about, and he was trying to like angle himself and like, and this girl was trying to push him away, and then eventually one of us just drags him off stage. And it's like, so we set that rule. But I remember one time I was doing Shakespeare, and this like American dude's there, and he's like, "Oh, can I have a joke? Can I tell a joke?" And I was like, "What's the joke?" And then I'm busy doing it, like, but I'm not fit. I just feel like something's, because like you said, you don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And the way he was framing it is like, "Oh, I don't know, it's a bit controversial." And I'm like, As soon as he says that, I'm like, and I'm just kind of like, with me, I'm never rude, but sometimes if you're putting off dodgy energy, I might not get around. I might focus on what I'm doing and not pay attention to you for a bit.
Yeah.
Until it becomes a bigger problem. And eventually I get some time, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to get on stage now?" And he's just basically like, "Oh no, the moment has passed." And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking, "Thank fuck for that."
The moment's passed.
Like, he's just, like he wasn't annoyed, but he was kind of a bit like, and I'm like, "Bro, you just want to like piss off all these people?" Like, it's one thing if you get on stage and do comedy and you're doing your thing, fine. But it's like to come on stage, say something is going to piss people off. For what?
Luckily, I've never had anything where anyone said anything bad. Do you know what I
Yet.
mean? But there is, if you turn up and if you see the open mics on and you come down with a guitar and go, oh, I want to play a song, I'll go, yeah, no worries. You could play any song in the entire world. It could be the most racist song in the entire world. I don't know that. If you do that, you get muted.
That's fair.
But,
Yeah.
it's sometimes you'll do like comedy. One of my friends, Dan, he's a stand-up comedian, and he takes the piss out of his own, homosexuality, his sexuality, and his identity and stuff. But if you walked in, sometimes you'd be like, "What the fuck is he going on about?" Basically, you don't see the whole picture. But luckily, I've never had anyone actively, be bad, like really problematic is the word, which is very good because there is always the chance for that to happen, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the setups we've got inhibit it to some extent.
Yeah.
The mute button's there for a reason. You know, you be firm. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you're thinking of hosting or you're just getting into it or whatever, don't be afraid to be firm and just put your foot down sometimes. Because honestly, you'll thank yourself later.
and you'll always have the backing of a venue.
Oh, 100%.
That's the good thing about it, is that if, like, I know for a fact that probably any of the places I run, if I go, that person's bad, they go, okay, no worries. And they'll go, why? But then,
Yeah, there's been a few times when I've had to like pick people out and say to like the bar staff, I'm like, listen, can we just get rid of him? Or sometimes Kai usually just goes up to them and just up in their face like, hey, listen, show some fucking respect, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, every time she's like that, I'm like, come on, man. You're like, don't put us in a fight. I'm fuck's sake. But no, she's really good at it because she's respectful about how she does it and stuff, and they listen, and I think they're a little bit afraid as well. All right, one final question about open mics, because I don't just want to fucking talk about open mics with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't either. Craziest, weirdest thing you've ever seen at an open mic? Bet you got some stories.
Craziest, weirdest thing. Like crazy, not weird, but crazy. Like, is a 7-piece brass band coming down and be like, want to sing? I had a barbershop quartet.
Oh, sick.
Who were really good. Like, they were both really good, but I was for the brass band, they were like, can you mic us up? And I went, I have 2 microphones. I can put them in front. You all playing brass instruments. You're going to be loud.
I was going to say, you don't need to.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
And then the barbershop quartet all sang into one microphone. It was really good.
Wow.
Really nice vibe. I once had a rapper come down to an open mic, and it was before the pandemic, so it was one of my old ones. But he started rapping about like really grotesque things, like sexual acts.
Oh,
and
no.
The bartender running off, coming up to me, be like, he can't say that in here. Michael, mute him. And I had to mute him. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, mate. They want me to mute you. And he's like, what's the problem? And they were like, you can't say that on a microphone. Like, it's just not that venue.
Jesus.
Like,
what was he saying?
It was pretty grotesque. I'm not going to repeat it. But
no, it's fine. I'm just thinking like, how grotesque that you.
It was just like
lewd
sexual acts.
Yeah.
But it was just a bit out of nowhere as well. Like, anyway, what else?
Anything that pissed you off, maybe, or just the disturbing, or just a bit mental? I don't know.
We see, everyone who plays is more or less a musician. Like, the rate of like musicians to like comedy or magic or spoken word is ridiculous. Like, there are some people who just like some people just. I did have one guy, and he was like a comedian, but he was like really anti-comedy. Like it was really like he was funny because he was making jokes that weren't funny at all. And he had a stage presence that was like completely not a stage presence.
What do you mean?
Like he'd just be pointing out to random people in the audience and be like, you, and he'd just be like going on about like how shit his life was. But it was funny.
Some people make careers out of that. So
Yeah, I found it funny, and it was good. But I was a bit like, I said to him, I was like, well done, because everyone else who's performed has been a musician, and I know it's not easy to come in. And he was like, mate, I was fucking shitting myself.
oh, we had a comedian last night, and it was he told some funny jokes. But yeah, I can tell he's still honing this craft. He's definitely got something there, but I could tell even he was second guessing himself. And I got to say this: I respect the hell out of comedians.
Yeah,
It's so brutal. Like when you're dying, you're dying.
yeah,
You know, because with music, you just keep playing. Fuck it. You
yeah,
know, but like for instance, in the first song I did in my set last night, my strap came off and and I literally I just you just laugh it off. I just put it and I was like straight to chorus, boom,
yeah.
like, and you got it back. You laugh it off. But like with comedy, if there's no laughs, you're not laughing that off.
No,
You're just dying.
yeah, no. I will say that comedy, especially when you're doing it in like a non-comedy space.
Yeah. Well,
I,
okay.
I mean,
Interesting.
maybe it's more brutal if you're actually at like a comedy event and no one else.
I've seen it. Dude, I don't know if I've told this story before on the show. Okay, I'm in London. It's like a different life, 10 plus years ago. It's a comedy night, and it's a private event for us. It's a work event,
Hmm.
and there's three comedians there. The final act was great. He was on like Mock the Week and shit. I was like, wow, fuck yeah. The one before him, great. The guy that opened it, right? He's Scottish. I'm like, oh, it's missionary work. Come on, Scotsmen, like they're fucking hilarious. Like they just got, they got their way about them,
Yeah,
Scots
yeah,
people, and they're a good crack, and they're just great. But this guy was like Captain Insecurity, and we just didn't find his jokes funny. He really seemed to have a hard on for Hitler and trying to make this Hitler joke work, and it just was not landing. And normally Hitler jokes, you can get a pretty good laugh out of
yeah,
that if you tell it right. But he's just killing it. And there's a guy who's in the audience, his manager, who's just kind of like laughing, but in a like, oh fuck, this is a terrible way, right? And we're all just awkward and would laugh, and it's like, oh, this is shit. And he gets annoyed, like he gets aggressive, and he goes, what's the problem with you, fucking baldy? Like, you're not laughing. And like, without skipping a beat, he just turns around and he's just like, you're not funny, mate. And he's keep attacking him, and we were just like laughing, like. And then I think he said something like, yeah, thank you very much, you've been the worst crowd ever, fuck you, a bunch of cunts, and walks off, and we'll just clap and cheer like, yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm glad I'm not a comedian.
Yeah, me too. It's brutal.
I'm glad I chose something that I'm good at. I can play a guitar. I can't tell a joke. you know.
People said to me that I should do comedy in the past, and I'm like, are you mad? I'm like, I can tell, I can be sarcastic. I've got a few dad jokes. Comedy is a whole other thing. Like, it's a psychology thing. You've got to be really good at improv. You've got to know how, you read the room, read the audience. It's observational comedy. Fuck me. Like, I mean, I remember the first comedian I saw play at GC. It was like very like feminist gender kind of stuff, which is fine. There's sport all. Like, I'm a feminist. It's great. But when it's like very, you're pushing a certain thing. You're like for the people, for this, for that. It can go one or two ways. If you've got people in
Yeah.
the audience that are for it and they're like, then yeah. But it felt kind of like we had to laugh because, if you didn't laugh, then you're a piece of shit kind of vibes. And it's like, well, no, like if it's not
If
funny,
you
it's not
don't laugh,
funny.
you're a misogynist.
Kinda, yeah. It's kind of that kind of vibes. And I was like, well, and there wasn't any aggression there, but that's kind of how it felt. And I feel like a lot of the time in comedy venues, you're almost like primed conditioned to laugh in the
Mm,
same way that like you're primed and conditioned to clap, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but you don't have to. If you didn't enjoy that, you don't have to.
It's like when I go to like the pub on a Friday night and there's some bloke playing some covers, and he'll finish playing a song, and I'll just be like, "Why am I? No one else is clapping, but I'm clapping." Like, oh yeah, just natural reaction. Do you know what I
Yep.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's switch it up, man. Where does your musical journey begin? Let's go to the beginning.
Where does it begin?
Yeah.
Okay. I had guitar lessons when I was in primary school, and through like primary school onwards. When I lived in Scotland, in Aberdeen, I started playing guitar, trying to write some songs. I thought, oh, if Bob Dylan can do it, I can do it. As always, as everyone does, and then realizing quickly that Bob Dylan is a gifted songwriter, and I was not,
I
But
disagree
then
with
just
that.
kind of, after that, just kind of was like, you know what, I enjoy doing music. I just want to do it. So then I started doing, like, I lived in Leicester for a bit. Like did a course to try and get to get like a stepping point to a degree. And I did a degree, moved to Manchester. I'm here. Been here for 9 years.
What's music taught you about life?
Music as in like writing music or just music in general?
Everything. What comes to mind?
That life is a bit of a blag.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah.
Yeah. No, like it's good. I like, I enjoy life, but sometimes you just you do a lot of work for very little, you know, especially in a creative field, you know. I I could do implement a lot of the jobs that I do on a daily basis into a more corporate atmosphere and make a lot more money out of it. But then I wouldn't be able to do this on a 1 o'clock on a Thursday.
I know exactly what you mean. Because, like, if I wanted to, I could make money doing, like, say, covers gigs
Yeah,
from now to eternity. But I don't want to do that. Like, I want to write and play my own music. I don't mind playing covers. I play a couple of here
yeah,
and there.
yeah,
But it's a very different thing when you show up and you do it at venues or corporate, like, yeah, you're getting paid. But, like, money isn't everything. It's how you're doing things. Like, I am so just overjoyed that I'm earning money doing the sound, doing hosting, playing. Like, it's living the fucking dream. And yeah, it's on a small level, but like you can build from that.
yeah. Of course, like you can always do other things that benefit you, like you know, like mixing, mastering, various different musically related jobs. But I will say, I know a lot of people who are full-time musicians who do one covers gig a weekend, and that's it.
Wow.
That's them for the week. So they do that 1 hour and a half of covers, get paid 200, 300 quid. That's their money for the week. And that enables them to do 6 days of doing whatever they want, musically. And I would say that's a very, an hour and a half of just doing something someone else tells you to,
I mean, it's performance. Yeah, I've always looked at it like that. Even when it's just been only covers,
it's just
it's
if it enables you to have if it enables you to have the creative time, because let's say you do 1.5 hours of covers in a week. If it gives you time to do 100 hours of making your own music, doing whatever the hell you want, then I think that's worth it.
Yeah, and plus it's something you love. Like,
Yeah, you're still playing his music, regardless of it being covers. You're still playing songs,
I
you know.
look at it like that with the open mics. Like, I don't get me wrong, I love doing it, but I don't necessarily want to be, a sound engineer as a
Yeah,
career. I'm not against it. I think it would be cool. I just know there's all this other stuff that I love to do,
yeah,
and then there's other things that I enjoy to do.
yeah,
Whereas, like when I look at like doing hospitality, which I still have to do here and there, I'm like, I don't enjoy this. This is like
yeah,
something force myself to do.
yeah. You got to
It's
pay
not
the bills. We all,
exactly.
sadly, we all have to pay the bills. And then,
So, at what point were you able to? Because I think it's interesting. You basically you've managed to craft a life where this is it. You earn money for music, and this is what
yeah.
you do. How did you kind of craft that life? And was there like a point where you sort of took a leap and go, right, it's fully music, it's sink or swim? Talk us through that.
So after the pandemic, after things started opening, I ran like two open mics. I ran a few with my friend who kind of I would do the sound and she would host, and then like that kind of got me into a lot of places because she stopped doing them. So then it was kind of like, well, I'll just do it. Um, but it just kind of built and built because people were kind of seeing, oh, this is doing well, and another venue would be like, oh, well, we should try it. I've hosted events at very many places across Manchester. Some places work, some places don't. But the point when I realized was when that like I should do music full time was when I was working in a bar. I was taking off like 3 days a week. They were giving it me somehow. I don't know how. But then I was making more money out of doing music than I was out of the pub, and it was like a level that I could live on, you know. And I was like, you know what? What's the point? Like, I may as well just do music then. What's the point? And like, they were giving me every like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday daytimes, like twice a month. And I was just thinking, like, I don't really know why they're giving me all this time. I think I know why. I think it's because my old manager was like, you're doing what you want to do. You're making steps into doing this full time. And I want to let you do it. I think, so fair play to him, for doing that. But when it really got to the point of like, I'm actually making more money out of music than I am working a pub, a bar job, and I can live off that income from music. And I was like, you know what? May as well,
Absolutely. It's just, I guess for me, it's always inspiring to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I've been working at this for years now, trying to make creative stuff for my living, and I'm not quite there yet, but there's been these
It's
recent
not,
stepping stones, and it's
I've been self-employed for about 2.5 years. And I will say, sometimes it's really good. Sometimes, you're living and you're like, yeah, doing loads of work, loads of money coming in. I'm living great. I can afford to do what I want. And then sometimes it all just drops away out of nowhere. And you're like, oh no, okay, I've got to live frugally. I can't go to the pub for a pint with mate. I've got to be careful. I've got to pay my rent. I've got to do this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I went in having saved up money just in case. Do you know what I mean?
sensible.
Which is always a benefit. Is you just make sure you've got a little bit of money behind you, to kind of. And I'm not, if all the venues that I run events at right now turn around to me and went, that's it, bye. I would just go have to work somewhere else. I would just go and have to work in a bar. I just have to go and, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, because over the years, like yourself, I'm self-employed and also doing like 0 hours contracts, so I stay
Yeah,
flexible. And there's been times when I've relied more on acting work, other times when, maybe I was earning online,
yeah,
doing somewhat all right. Never enough to live on, but like, maybe it meant that there was a few less shifts
Yeah.
than, but fuck, even in like hospitality, man, there's like quiet periods.
Yep.
Like anticipating one this summer, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I think for anyone who's thinking of doing this, take Michael's advice, like save up money, always have rainy day fund, or invest your money, do that, make your money work for you and all that, and just have options. Keep things like I always keep the 0 hours contract, even if I don't work there. I pop my head in, give my availability, make sure I'm around, and just lean on things. Have like different egg baskets, so to speak.
I think the most important thing as well for it is to not rely on like other people for helping you. Do you know what I mean? Like I know people who will be like, oh, if I got made redundant, my parents would help me out and stuff. But like I'm from a working class background. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll ask I remember being at uni and asking my mum, can you lend me some money for some food? Because my student loan's not coming. It's coming a week later. Mum was like, okay, well, you have 20 quid. We have to pay it back next week because I can't afford to, that's come out of the lucky bill.
Yeah.
I remember asking my dad and he was like, no, be on it. There's, even if you've got like, I don't know, a safety net of family and stuff, you can't always guarantee that it's going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's sensible to have that mindset, and you can only really ever rely on yourself. And things change. Do you know what I mean? Like I look at things like what I'm doing now, and I'm like, this might not last forever. Anticipate that, so I'm keeping it as like an extra thing.
Yeah.
And we'll weigh it up. We'll keep evaluating, and as you said, like living frugally. I think it's even if you've got more money, still be sensible.
Yeah.
Budget. It'll go. I've been budgeting since 2019, and it's
don't buy pints for £7.
Oh my god, no. Yeah, well, it adds up, doesn't it? It's crazy.
If you want to go to the pub, just go to your local, like £3.50.
Let's go to the supermarket. Way cheaper.
Well, yeah.
Right, you got a record label.
Yep.
It's called Bread Records.
Yep.
Firstly, that name. well, fuck.
It's the food of the working class.
Ah.
And also, who doesn't like bread in any form?
That's true.
Even if you don't like toast, you like a wrap. You like a naan bread. There's plenty of variations of it. Everyone loves it.
And you can just turn around and be like, our record company, well, we're the best thing since sliced bread. Hey.
Yeah.
You laugh at my dad jokes, damn it.
It is also good for all the puns that I get to make for like all the features that we write up and the names of the events and stuff. And
Toast of the Town, all that shit, yeah.
Toast of the Town's a good one. I've not used that one yet.
There you go. There's a free one. Well, that's not free. I want royalties now. Right. How did it come about? Bread Records.
I was producing music and just kind of like recording music for me and my mates. And I was like, you know what? May as well do it and like have a place for it all to be. Like a hub, a social hub for it. And I was like, okay, Bread Records. Cool. There we go. And then it's just kind of, as I've met new people, made new friends, met people that I collaborate with now, we've just done more and more. And it's good with, the events are all under the one name. Yeah, just kind of a big hub for it all, for everything that I do.
How do you decide if you're going to sign an artist? What's your criteria?
Mostly it comes down to how busy I am. Sadly, we're ridiculously busy all the time. But one thing I will say is, and I remember saying this to my housemate who is signed to the label. It's a level of like how much they would put into it how much, not like, financially or, like talent or anything like that. It's very much a case of like, how much dedication do they have to creating music that they want to create? You know, like I get emails every week being like, oh, this is an artist from, I don't know, Nottingham. They really want to be signed to the label. This is an artist from Greece. We want to move to Manchester. And it, like, if I could sign everyone in the world, I would do. But the problem is I don't have that kind of money or that kind of time. It's, would you be willing to put in the amount of time and effort that I would be into into promoting an act,
Yes.
into representing someone and collaborating with them? It's because, doing the open mics, you do see a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm writing music, but I'm just, just chilling with it. I just want to do it as a side thing. You see some people who are like, oh, I want to become really famous and, write, do music for a living. But then when you realize the amount of effort that actually goes into it, it gets very daunting. And it is, it is very daunting. But yeah, it's very much a case of my time, how much money I have available as well, but also kind of like just the commitment of it. It's very much like a commitment thing, but not just like a commitment to like, music or, it's about writing songs that are true to themselves,
When I look at like the prospect of getting signed, because like one of my goals is to get signed to an independent label. I have zero interest in major record labels, and we'll get into that discussion in a bit. But I've always wanted it as a personal goal of mine, and what I've always said to people when they say, "Oh, why are you not like releasing more music?" or why are you not gigging? Or and I just straight up just say because people aren't giving me those opportunities.
Yeah.
They're hard to come by. Like I got a gig from you. That was the first gig I've had since about a year ago.
Yeah.
I had like about three or four, and then nothing, and not for want of trying. I released an album,
Yeah.
three music videos, behind the scenes documentary, and I've been promoting it every day since I released the first single. So it's like 159 days, I think, in total.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very hard to. Music isn't for like the faint-hearted people.
No.
You know what I mean? If you this is what I mean. If you like with when it's like commitment, like if you just want to do music and you think you're going to be like immediately famous off the bat, it's just not going to happen. I will say there is a very slight chance of it happening. Like you upload a TikTok and it goes viral, or you put on, you go on, put music on Spotify and it just gets uploaded onto those playlists, and it gets millions of plays. That can happen. But it's like, it's like winning the lottery. It can happen. There is a chance. There's a chance of you walking out of your house and I don't know, a wad of cash falling on top of your head. But is it going to happen? Do you know what I mean?
I hope it happens.
There's a chance of Manchester being 25 degrees and it's happened today,
Jesus, yeah.
But it's unlikely that you were going to have to do. You'll get famous immediately. You will have to put in the time and effort. And to be fair, I think that you kind of the time and effort you put into it, and the things you learn from doing that is invaluable. Like just kind of meeting people, kind of gauging people's characters, seeing who's out there, what kind of people are, you should work with and you shouldn't. Obviously, everyone works better with different people. Or even like, playing gigs. You can have a million good gigs, but then what happens when you have a bad one? You don't know what to do. I think you need a bad gig. So then you go, oh, I need to perform. I need to learn how to deal with that. Or, I know people who play bad gigs and they get really upset because they're like, oh, well, it was really naff, or I couldn't hit this note, or I sang this song wrong. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You got to learn that. I think
Like,
that,
it's like playing sports. You know, everyone has
yeah,
a bad game.
yeah,
But
exactly. You know, you've got to, I think you've got to go through it to learn about it all. It's like, it's the grind of it all. Do you know what I mean? It's like playing like Minecraft and you got to like level up and, get all the enchantments and stuff.
it's hard doing everything yourself. I think that's the biggest struggle I've
Yeah.
had over the years. Because like as I said, like I would love to get signed. I would love to get more music out, but it's like financing. It's trying to survive. Like I've always said, I would do more if I had more,
Yeah.
right? And like, for want of a better word, like the people can make that happen, and they have the power. It's why I push things like a Patreon. It's why I push my album. It's why I'm always pitching. Like I pitched something to someone just today. Yeah, I'm always doing that. Like I think that's an important element. Is you got to network. You got to put yourself out there. You got to ask. You know.
You know what I think? I know I think the most important thing of any musical thing is just to be nice. You know, I think if you're going to be a dickhead to someone, you'll get so far, but then someone will just be like, "Nah, I can't be asked dealing with that." Someone who with actual like I don't know power within the music industry will be like, "Nah, I'm not dealing with that."
Okay. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're nice to everyone, you might not get. It might not be like you might not get like the kind of edgy. Oh, that guy's really edgy. Or he's cool. This, that, and the other. But people will want to work with you because they go, oh, it was fun and they were nice and they treated me like a normal person. You know, I it always comes back to something my mum used to say is treat people with the respect that you expect from them. You know, and that's just the basic of how I live my life. You
Well,
know,
this brings me to my next question. Did you ever regret signing an artist? And if so, what did you learn from that?
no, I wouldn't say so.
That's good.
Um, every act that is signed to the label or has been signed to the label has been like one of my friends, and we've worked together on something, made something we're really proud of, and then you know kept working together, or maybe they take a little break from it, or maybe they just don't want to do that music project anymore. It happens. Um,
Has there been any success stories? Like anything where maybe it set them up for something bigger, or like it was just a particularly good release for Bread Records,
uh,
or
to be fair, we've done quite consistently well with a lot of the releases of lately. We're not talking like millions and millions of streams, or else I'd be on a solid gold throne. But no, like we've done well, and they've done well. Like people will turn around and be like, "Oh, that song sounded really good," or you know, I've had it where I've been at random gigs and someone's been like, "Oh, you produced that song, or you worked on this with that person." And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah," and like, "Oh, yeah, it sounds really good. Really enjoyed it." And I think that's an important thing as well. Is just kind of like knowing that people out there who you don't even know in the kind of localized general area know about it and are enjoying it. The thing that I always think when it comes down to music is if you can inspire someone to make a sound, create something with your music, then that is all that matters.
it blows my mind when I get people like online or in person that tell me
Yeah.
that like, oh, this is my favorite song, or I listen to this all the time in the car.
Mm.
Like, there's people in like states in Europe that listen to my music right now, and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? The other day I was doing a live stream, and someone recognized my voice in some audio drama I did back in like 2021. I was like, what? You were
Yeah.
Detective Reynolds. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know about this?
Mental, mental.
but it's a humbling feeling because you're like, okay, like you said, there's some reach. Like I think everyone automatically just thinks, oh, if it hasn't got like a million views, then it's not, anything worth. Yeah, and I get in my head sometimes about it. Like
People really kind of go overboard on the views and the streams and stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, we all want to get loads of streams. Why wouldn't you? But if you can have one person who turned around to you and went, "Oh my god, I streamed that song like 500 times last year. I
it's
loved it.
incredible.
It made a real difference to my life. I was in a bad place or something, and it really got me out of it." That's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than, I don't know, just some random person, random million people playing it, but not really listening to it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, that does mean a lot more. Like I have a very small community online, small, but it's so invaluable. Like some of those people have been checking in for years now.
Yeah.
And it just thank you to everyone who has been listening and supporting and watching over the years. Means more than you'll ever know. So say that. Yeah. Okay. So it's 2025. Where do you kind of stand on the whole indie versus major label debate? I know you're obviously going to be a little bit biased in this conversation, but I think it's, I want to get your perspective because you have a lot of different elements to you in the music industry. So what do you say on that one?
I think the best way to describe it was that like a major label is a business.
Yep.
And an independent label is less business focused. It is still a business, but it is less business focused. It's like, when a company gets bought out by like one of those companies that just is there to make profit.
Yeah.
That's what a major label is. They want to use the product to make money, which is great. We all want to make money, no one wants to be pop. But in order to do it with the facilities that they offer with like production and, studios and advances and, marketing and pressing, duplication and stuff, they have to, they don't really, the royalties are enough,
Yeah, and it's like I can't get my head like. Okay, I know that a lot of people back in the day, and even to this day, sign because they get promised like, "Oh, we'll make you a star. We're going to do this, that, and the other." And not everyone is a songwriter. Like some people are just performers. Some people are quite happy just singing other people's music. And look, there's no shame in that. Like I know some people are like really against that. I think as long as signing with a label aligns with your goals, it's fine. The problem that I have is you'll come in, you're a songwriter, you've written your music, maybe you might have collaborated with people, or maybe it's completely yours. Either way, you have writing credits, you have performed, you have played, and etc. And the label turns around to you and is like, "We own 70% of this." I'm like,
it's quite
what?
Generous for a label.
I'm like,
about 85.
yeah. What? Fuck you. What do you mean? You didn't. All you did was push it. And now, don't get me wrong. I'm not underestimating the power of money. I mean, fuck me. Like, if I had a budget, I probably could take this album a lot further, right? But it is what it is, right?
I think the difference with it is because they have millions for promotion and marketing and, placements within in other areas of the industry, they can do that, and a lot of people, if you got signed to a major, if a major label, if you were like a 17-year-old, you've just been like, I've got these songs, and a major label comes up to you and they're like, "Oh, we want to sign you, we want to put out your debut album, but we're going to give you 12%." But you go 12%, bit naff, but you're guaranteed millions and millions of streams, arena tours. People will just look at that and they go, "Oh my God, that's amazing." Because it is, don't get me wrong, that is great.
You got to think business though. You said business, and I'm right there with you because I look at it like think long term. Like, yeah, okay, you might be this 17-year-old kid and you're like, oh, fucking hell, I can be mega famous and I can do arena tours. And it's like, yeah, but think about 10 years from now, 20
But
years from now.
we are also talking about when I was 17, I wasn't thinking about that about 10
No,
years.
no, I know. We would
You
have
know,
just gone for that like
that's
idiots and
that's
then
the yeah, that I mean,
regretted it
that's the
later.
main thing, and I'd be guilty of that as well. Do you know what I mean? If you turn around to me and you were like, you can drink all the beers in the world and party all the time and just play tunes, I'd be like, oh yeah, damn, that sounds well good. But I think don't get me wrong, there are people who would be more clued up to it. I think especially nowadays, the kids seem to be a bit smarter than they used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And
A bit
more
more
power to
tuned
them,
into things.
as they should be.
You know, I think when it comes to like an independent label, it's very much more of we are putting this music out because not just on the basis of it, we want it to be a commercial piece of music. We want it to be where we want the world to hear this because it's great, and that's that's the way I run. Like I would say is the best way. I would never turn around to one of the acts on the label and be like, oh, that song needs to be a certain length of time. It needs to have this many bars of an intro. So then the hook hits and you need to repeat the hook again. And then don't use that minor key, change it, put it in a major key. If you write a song and it sounds good, then that's what I want. If I enjoy it, if I go, damn, people should hear this. That's all I'm about. Do you know what I mean? I don't want, I produce. I know how it works. I don't do it.
Okay.
I know how you could. I know the elements of production into making it into a more commercialized song. I just don't really like doing it.
That's fair.
I just think I like the way that a song goes. I like a 7-minute song, I like a song with 2 verses and 4 choruses, but then there's like a 7-minute guitar solo. All the Neil Young songs are like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's creative expression, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Like when I look at the music I have and the music I want to do in the future, some of it is more just kind of creative and because I just love to write music,
Yeah.
and other songs are more catchier, I guess, more like I remember when I was deciding on what to do as singles from my album, I had a hard time because I felt like a lot of the songs were of a single quality,
Yeah.
and then some were definitely not. And I settled on the ones that I had, and I was happy with those choices. But it taught me a lot about writing stuff that you think are going to be singles versus writing like deep cuts.
Yeah.
But I do think you got to be careful with that, and you shouldn't write with like the mentality of, oh, I want this to be a hit. It should just be write a song, then see how it feels, see how people react to it, and go from there.
Write a song, and if it just the way that I do it is I'll come up with like a nice little guitar pattern or something, and then I'll just try and come up with some lyrics. Sometimes it'll take me a day, sometimes it'll take me an hour, sometimes it'll take me a year. It's but I never go in, oh, this could be a single. I'll write a song and then I'll be like, what songs could be more single? Like, what could I put out as like an independent piece rather than a piece that's if it's like an album or like a EP or like a longer collection of tracks, I always think there should be some kind of way to tie them all into each other. And I always will produce them in the mindset of going, like I've got two songs that finish and start on the same chord.
Cool.
Similar, but finish and start on the same chord. But I want to create like a little interlude between them, going around. It's a very slight variation of a chord. It's like going from like a B5 to a B minor 7. So I want to create like a little interlude that's a bit like atmospheric and a bit more like ethereal, just kind of linking them together a little bit. Just, it's not going to be the most played song on Spotify, but I just think it'd be nice, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to my own music, because obviously I play as well, I just I don't really care about I don't really care about what people think of it. I just want to write songs, and I just want to. If I go, oh, that's pretty cool, I want to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like the creative freedom within my own music. I
I think
will say I might have. I need to market it a bit better, and I will be for future releases. But I like being able to just, oh, I'm going to write a 6 minute song. Oops, it ends up being a 7 minute song and it's got massive guitar solo at the end. Oh no, who's
I've
going to you know?
I've identified in songs I've heard you sing where I'm like, that's a single. That's just a cool song. But I
Yeah,
can hear it. I can hear like, but again, it's perspective. Just because that's what I think doesn't mean that's what everyone thinks. But
yeah, of
like,
course, yeah,
but you just hear it. Like you can hear when something can be something. Like to bring up a mutual friend of ours, like AM is just so unbelievably talented.
yeah,
Like I messaged him today, just saying like you're just such an amazing songwriter. Like please just never stop writing because it's
yeah,
I something about the way he performs.
It's hard to place. It's something that you can just you sense in it. Do you know what I mean? You can't
Yeah,
really put it into words. It's like Wonder was similar. Anyone's Ghost. Wonder was very similar in that sometimes you just watch them play a set and just be like, you're shy, you're not like stage presence isn't like all over the place chatting to everyone and be like, oh my god, this song is this, blah, blah. But when you perform, it's there, it's just there. Everyone's watching, everyone's going, whoa, oh, hold on, okay, whoa, what's going on? You know, and I think there are acts that just have that, and you just go, I don't know what it is, but they've got it. You know,
yeah,
can't explain to them anyone why it's like that. It just is. You know.
I know exactly what you mean. That's one of the beauties of doing the open mics
Yeah.
is so many people pass through, and every now and again there'll just be someone where I'm like, wow, that's this, and I'll add this shit to my playlist, and I'm like, fuck yeah, man,
Yeah.
great, love it.
Yeah. Exactly. No, we've recorded a few of his songs, and
Finally,
yeah, they are yes, they are very good. I'm very very. My main worry when I record someone's songs is like, will we work well with recording each other's songs, or will it just be me doing it, or will it just be them doing it? But with Max, we both have ideas and we don't argue. We go, oh, that doesn't work. Okay, cool. We'll try this. Or do you know what I mean? It's a very level-headed playing ground. We can disagree, and it's all good. We don't hold grudges about it. We'll go and have a pint afterwards. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
That's what it's about, I think. You know.
Okay. So you do promotion as well for events.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read you something because I've seen over the years it's never changed. It's always the same. If you don't promote your acts and you put the responsibility on the acts for promotion, can you really call yourself a promoter?
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. But there's a when it
To be clear, Michael promotes his acts. He's not one of
yeah,
these people.
there's a level to it. Like when you play a gig, when if I ask you to play a gig, I expect you to do a post or talk to your friends about it. But then I also expect myself to go, oh, we'll do a bit of a post about it. We'll go, oh, Christian's playing this. This starts at whatever time, get some posters done or whatever, talk to people about it, and just, get the word out. There are promoters out there who don't do it, like don't really do any promotion. But I will say there are also some acts that don't either. You know,
Yep.
it's like, it's a handshake. You both work together to do it. Because if you both didn't work together to do it, then no one's going to turn up, and you're just going to have a nap time. You're just not going to have fun, are you? And sometimes it's hard. There's a million things going on at all times and at any moment in the world. Just to try and get someone down to one evening of their life.
Oh, dude, it's so hard. Like I promote the shit out of everything I do. Like that gig, I promoted it hard everywhere online. I told friends about it, and God bless my friend George. He's the only person that showed up. And it's frustrating, man. It's the second time I've been doing music in my life. It was the same when I was in bands. It's the same now. Nobody cares about you until everybody cares about you. That's the reality. And what fucks me off about it is there's so much good local talent that I would even argue is better than some of the stuff you see in the charts, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm traveling down to London at the end of this month to see this band. They're called The Trusted. They're from Southend. Fucking incredible. Like every song's a banger. They would have popped off in the 2000s, I can tell you that much. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to see this band for like £7 or £8. They're not even the headliners, and they are fucking amazing. And I'm genuinely just a fan. Like I had the singer on my show a few years back, and they're lovely boys, really, really talented, lovely guys, very humble. Absolutely deserve some recognition. And I'm just so over the moon that I get to see it for so cheap.
It baffles me sometimes that I've put on some bands and literally been like, my fucking God, like, wow, I am blown away. And then I'll look around the room and be like, 10 people were here. And I'll be like, 10 people witnessed like probably one of the best performances I've seen in a very long time.
Exactly, yeah.
But sometimes you will put on a gig and you'll go, oh, wow, this is busy out of nowhere. It's
luck of the draw, isn't it?
It's work and the luck of the draw. If you work hard on it, you really fucking go for it, it's more likely it'll be busy. But there is also a chance that it won't be.
I always look at like, what am I doing wrong? Because I put like endless hours into it. I'm doing it every fucking day. I'm pushing and pushing. I'm doing live streams where I sing my music. I play every single week. I pop up at other random nights that I don't, like yours and stuff.
Yeah.
It just makes no difference.
It's hard.
It's just like throwing shit at a wall. It's like, I've been so tempted to suck it in multiple times, and I didn't because I love what I do. I feel like it's like giving up on yourself. You just can't do it. But it does get disheartening sometimes, and I don't know. I just just carry on. I guess I don't know what else there is. Like, to be honest.
Well, if you're not doing music, if you do music, it's effectively an extension of yourself. Yeah. And if you just like, oh, I don't want to do anymore, no one's coming, then you're just validating your own self-worth by other people's, by other people. Yeah.
I look at it like this. I'd rather be heartbroken but singing my heart out and loving every second of it than go back to when I didn't do music and have that feeling of like I can't go to gigs and watch people play without feeling intense sadness.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the rest of my life, I will just, if I wanted to go somewhere, go hang out, I would, probably go to a gig.
There it is. Couple of final questions for you to wrap things up. What's the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received is probably that one that my mum said.
Yeah.
Just treat people with the respect that you expect to be treated with, because it just makes sense. Yeah.
What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
Biggest life lesson so far. I will tell you what, the biggest life lesson I've learned this year is that people can be a pain in the ass.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of friends who are very dependable and stuff, but sometimes you just think like, oh my neck. Sometimes it all stacks against you. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I will say everyone has their own shit to deal with.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, this is happening, it's not good, or my life's terrible, blah blah. But then everyone else is dealing with the exact same, if not more, if not slightly less. The biggest life lesson in general is just if you don't enjoy it, stop it. Just do something else.
Final question for you. Do you have any upcoming projects or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Upcoming projects. I have a gig today.
Hey.
at the Eagle Inn. We're there every first Thursday of the month. Nice little acoustic setting.
In Stockport, right?
In Salford.
Sorry. Salford. Okay.
Yeah, just on Trinity, near the Trinity Way thing.
Mm.
And projects. We have some new music from Ian, probably at some point. We have more Scatterchild music, more stuff on the label, more gigs. It's my birthday this month. It's my birthday. This month's gonna be a bit more chill, and then after summer, we're all going again. So
let's go.
We go.
I want to take a minute to just say, firstly, a massive thank you for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure. Secondly, massive thank you for just all the hard work that you put in, giving people an opportunity to play, giving artists an opportunity to record their music, everything you're doing for Manchester and its music scene. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it.
Nice one.
And to all the listeners of the Christian Reeve podcast, I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. Make sure to go out of your way to check out Michael's music and all the music at Bread Records. You won't regret it. And as always, be safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next one.